Good evening, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. We go in-depth on the on-the-job training division with Director Joan David, the mission and vision of the program, who it benefits and how it has been faring during the pandemic. We take that deep dive now. How are you, Joan? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, BK, for having me at this time. And I want to say thanks to your listening and viewing audience for tuning in tonight.
And in terms of bringing us from the ground up, what is the history of the program? So when you say OJT, what are we talking about in terms of the division and program?
You know, I'm smiling because when I'm asked that question in any forum, I like to start with the question, you know, what was the problem to which OJT was the solution? You know, and that takes us to 2002, when the program was created and the government saw it fit to start a program like the OJT, because I think at that time the government felt that while a lot of people were graduating with their degrees and their certification, they really wasn't ready for the world of work. And there was that gap between the workplace readiness and their completion of their certification. The academics, getting them ready for the world of work. So the OJT was the solution to world of work experience at that point.
And you raised a point that I really appreciate in terms of coming out. Yes, you have a nice pretty piece of paper,
yes,
but at the same time, what can you do? And because there may be machinery, there may be technology that is a little behind what you would have learned, and they say, well, they never teach me this in school, you know, how do you function? And even the issue of having respect for someone who may not have that academic qualification, but at the same time, they know this system inside and out. So being able to form a holistic person who respects those who are in the position, but are also aware of what it is they can bring to the table.
And that is key, because we talk soft skills. We talk the gap between your academics and what is really needed for you to navigate the world of work. You know, those behavioral issues, those the ability to deal with difficult situations, the ability to, you know, interact in the environment, communication, and that is major issues. And the program itself was to facilitate that. So we moved from 6 months when the program was created to 1 year, then to 2 years. Because again, when you apply for a job, they're looking for minimum 2 years experience. So the government would have moved the program to that place of 2 years on the job training for you to be able to transition smoothly into sustainable employment.
And that also reminds me of that chicken or the egg in terms of somebody saying you want experience, but they also want qualification. Which comes first? But if the answer to the problem or the question is the OJT program, what are some of the objectives in terms of what it is the program facilitates?
The objectives of the program itself facilitates the collaboration between industry partners and the OJT. Because in order for us to provide opportunity, we must have those availability of spaces for training. And therefore, the first objective is to collaborate with industry partners. And then the second objective would be to bring on trainees in the program so that they could have a 24-month experience of world of work experience into the workplace.
And I'm glad you don't have a communion plate passing around, because I feel like I just want to, because you're preaching to the converted. I remember someone also telling me that opportunity, it requires access. So if you don't have that access, and as you say, 24 months now, it is something that is almost as though you're butting your head against a brick wall. But it is interesting, 2002 to now, a little later in the conversation, we'll want to ask how the program has evolved. You already spoke about 6 months to 1 year to 24 months. But there is a tracer study that I was hearing a little bit about. What is that? Can you expand on that, please?
2022, OJT will celebrate its 20-year anniversary. And in that, I felt it was necessary to see where our trainees are. From 2002 to 2021, based on the data that we have access to, what that would have told us is that the program itself would have facilitated over 200,000 trainees between 2002 and 2021. And therefore, we want to do that search in collaboration with the anniversary celebration to find out where our trainees are at this time. How many ministers would have passed through the training program? How many senators, how many bank managers would have passed through the OJT program? How many masons and carpenters who have now evolved into their own companies and businesses? Where are our trainees now? So that is the purpose of the Tracer study.
I'm looking forward to getting some of that information as well, seeing, because sometimes it takes a while, so you're in the system, so you realize, yes, this is really what I want to do. And then some people will have the inverse of it to say, well, possibly it's not necessarily what I thought it was. Let me see if I can try to involve myself with something else. But how do individuals become a part of the OJT program? Is it something that you fill online? Is it something that you need to go in physically? Take me through that process.
That is the candidates for the training program, or
yes,
the
please.
Providers? Candidates?
Candidates.
Unfortunately, I must say, in 2021, we do not have an online portal. And the system is still that of a manual one, where you go onto the Ministry of Labor website, you download the application form together with the instructional brochure, and you fill out your application form. You attach all of the necessary documents, your certificates, your birth paper, your ID card, and drop it physically into one of our offices. We currently have 5 offices throughout the Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago being 1, San Fernando, Port of Spain, Point Fortin, and Siparia. So any one of those offices, you can drop in your application, and then we take you through the process of a formal interview. And then the process is that we find the match. So we take your academic certification or your skill certification and find a provider that will be appropriately fit to be able to accommodate the 24-month program.
All right, so that is it from the side of applicants wanting to become a part of the program. When we return from the break, we'll actually speak about the providers. We're doing that with the director of the On-the-Job Training Division. Welcome back. We are going in depth on the On-the-Job program, or division rather, with Director Joan David. Now, Ms. David, on the other side of the break, we spoke about how applicants can engage with the process of becoming a part of the division or the program. How do providers say, okay, well, this is how I open my doors to trainees? How do they do that?
In the first instance, we hope that providers understand the benefit of joining the program, and on their own, they approach the program and come to us to say to us, they want to be part of impacting young people in Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore provide opportunity. So on the ministry, again, website, there's the entire process and the forms for providers coming on board. So they go on, because it's not an online system again, they will have to now go to the website, download the documentation, and then send it to us. Well, that could come to us via email, first to engage. And then we will now onboard them. There's an onboarding process where we go into them. They submit all of the relevant documentation. We go into them. We see the site where they would be placing trainees and where they would be operating, because one of the key things is that OSHA also forms a part of the Ministry of Labor, and we are guided by, especially in the public service and the private sector, that OSHA looks at the space to make sure that it is in compliant so that we can put trainees there. And once we get that OSHA approval, then the onboarding process is smooth and simple. I think that is the biggest timeline that we work with OSHA, but they are always supportive to ensure that we do what we need to do, and the locations that we put trainees are safe and secure for them to be able to do their 24 months. So the process in itself really is a smooth one once we get via past OSHA.
But Ms. David, I want to know about some of the benefits too.
Well, I always, when I engage with providers, I tell them the biggest benefit is the government contribution. That is the biggest benefit. Because while we have 5 levels of stipend for trainees, moving from 30.25 at our level 1, 43.56 at our level 2, 54.45 at our level 3, which is the associate degree level, 75.62 at an undergraduate level. So when you come out with your undergraduate degree, you can come through the OJT program for $7,500 a month. And even at the postgraduate level, we do have trainees coming through the program at $8,712. So the biggest benefit to that is that the providers only cover 40% of that. The government actually covers 60%. So the biggest benefit is that you are supported by the government for 60% of the stipend paid to trainees. But outside of that, the impact of you coming on to the program on young persons in Trinidad and Tobago, to be able to provide them with a space to learn and to be mentored in terms of world of work experience prior to. So a lot of it I tell providers, I said, think about the program as your probationary period before you hire employees. And therefore you have 24 months to make sure that they are culturally fit and their competencies are built before you transition them into employees, making them from trainees to employees of your company. So I think that is for me, a great benefit for providers to be able to impact young people in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of their work culture. Because they complain a lot about the young people and their work culture, but you could be part of that in terms of shaping it by coming onto the program and being part of it with the OJT program.
And I really like that point about that, using it as a probationary period, but you also, one is, as you said, mentoring. And if you're saying that, okay, well, we need people, one is a good opportunity to see what this person is about, but also to show them the ropes for the specific ways that you like things done in your company. And you spoke about the work culture of that space, as opposed to you go somewhere else and you get bad habits, and now you want to come here and do it like that. So I really see it's a win-win situation for the individuals, getting that experience under the belt, getting an idea what the world of work is like, as well as the company saying, okay, well, we're literally grooming our next crop of employees.
Exactly. And I think the biggest, recently, because we are not a data-driven culture, we don't have a data-driven culture in Trinidad, we feel at the OJT that is always important that we do our own surveys among our training providers. So recently we would have conducted an employability survey. We went to our 1,365 employers in Trinidad, and we said to them, when you're taking on staff, when you're taking on trainees, what type of skills, and we're talking soft skills because we're looking to improve the quality of experience the trainees have. But we also want, when they leave the program, that they're leaving with those soft skills that the employer is looking for. Communication, critical thinking, how to solve problems. And they don't come straight out of school knowing how to navigate the world of work. And therefore, it is important that employability skills survey results that said to us, this is what we need to see them come with. That is what the OJT is doing now in terms of transforming the program in itself to improve the level of soft skills delivery within the program and therefore make a better experience for the trainee.
And it's funny that you speak about those soft skills like that. We actually will have a conversation a little further down in this month. And one of the things that the person spoke to me about that really made me feel that I want to have this conversation is that your IQ will get you in the door, But many times it's your EQ, your emotional intelligence, your
Yes.
emotional quotient that will see you out the door if you're lacking.
And Dike, you know, that is important that you say that, because here what for me is a major turning point for trainees. When I have the orientation, because we have a target of 400 trainees every month, and even in the midst of the pandemic, we have still been able to hit 300, 350 new trainees every month. And when I have that orientation, one of the things I walk with is a score sheet from an interview. And I tell them, when you go into an interview, because you finish school and you have your certificate in your hand, you have just accomplished your degree, and you think that, okay, fine, I'm ready, you know, I'm ready for the big buck. But really and truly, when you go to an interview, when you come straight out of school, when you look at the score sheet, your certificate is 10 points. Your certificate is 10 points. So if your certificate is 10 points and the experience on the score sheet is 35 points, sometimes 45 points based on the job that you're looking for, then understand why you won't get the job. Because you do not have the experience that they're looking for. You do not, and it's not only experience from a technical place, it's work experience. It's, you know, how do you navigate the relationships within the workspace? You know, how do you deal with difficult situations? How do you respond when there's challenges and issues and problems? That is what is critical in terms of how we design the OJT program, to give you that information, to make sure that we tool you so that when you finish 24 months, that you are tooled and ready to take on and to transition into sustainable employment.
But sadly, we don't have 24 months for this conversation. But I definitely want to ask, inside the 2 minutes that we have, what are some of the innovations from 2002 to now that the division has been looking and working on in terms of being able to create those tools for younger people in a situation that has been evolving since 2002?
What I can speak to specifically is 2019, when I came on the program, and what we have been trying to do despite coming in 2019 and going straight into a pandemic. So the strategic things are lacking a bit, and therefore is only because we have to do so much of operational things to keep the program afloat in the pandemic. But some of the things that we're trying to do from internally is to ensure that the processes are streamlined. We can't be going to private sector and asking them to come onto the program and the processes aren't, you know, smooth, because we know what private sector like. You know, they don't like too much of bottlenecks. So therefore it is important that we fix the processes internally, even in terms of improving the training experience for the trainee. It is not just about a provider asking for a trainee and coming onto the program. It is about we ensuring that when the trainee finishes, that their competencies built based on a training plan, based on a monitoring and evaluation component, so that we can now say, yes, the trainee would have come through the program and therefore are now skilled and competent in these specific areas.
And Ms. David, I realize that I need to be like Oliver Twist and ask for some more. So we need to start scheduling from now. But thank you very much for sharing your time with us and coming in and letting us know about the work of the division and what trainees can do when they apply. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we want to thank you for tuning in to In Depth with me, Dike Rostant.